The Rangers just swept the Rays, but their task does not get any easier in the next round. Coming up on today's show, we're going to break down what the Rangers fans need to know about the Baltimore Orioles and why the Rangers might just have an advantage over the best team in the American League. We're talking about all that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked on to the Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan covering this team for 10 seasons, including all 5 as the founder and host of Locked On Rangers. Thanks so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow the show at Bryce Patrick. You can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. I don't know what I'm saying because I am so confused because I am so filled with joy. The Texas Rangers are going to the ALDS. They could have made it there a little sooner. But hey, they finish off with a sweep. They go into this series with momentum, taking down the 99-win Rays, kicking them in the teeth, destroying them, absolutely eviscerating them, getting 2 much-needed days off, and here they head to Baltimore, as they call it sometimes, to take on the 101-win 2023 AL East champion Baltimore Orioles. Nothing but respect for this Orioles team and this Orioles fan base and these Orioles players. Just a really scrappy, fun, young team, which normally you say about a team that's like 85 wins, not 101 wins, but this is a darn good team. They are not just scrappy and young and fun. Last year, they were the upstart team of, we almost made the playoffs. They're about a 80-something win team, an 83-win team, did finish with a winning record, and that was kind of kick-started off in a series against the Rangers, where the Rangers got swept in Baltimore with all one-run losses, all in games where the Rangers blew the lead in the 8th or 9th inning. A good thing that didn't happen this year, of a bunch of blown leads, blown late, and one-run losses. Oh, wait, that was kind of the case, and that's something that this Baltimore Orioles team does incredibly well. Now, let's look at what the probable starting pitchers will be in this one. Game 1, it'll probably be Dane Dunning versus Kyle Bradish. Game 2, Jordan Montgomery versus either John Means or Grayson Rodriguez. Game 3, Nate Eovaldi versus the other one of those two, either G-Rod or John Means. Game 4, it's going to be probably either Martin Perez or Andrew Heaney versus Kyle Gibson or Dean Kremer. At this point, it seems like it's a 50-50 on either of those guys for either team. And then Game 5 will just be, if necessary, a rematch of the Game 1 starters. Or it could be John Gray coming off the injured list. He is scheduled to be, he is going to be eligible to come off the injured list for Game 5 of that series, again, if necessary. But I don't necessarily anticipate him in his first start off the IL being that. I mean, we'll see if I'm proven wrong, if we even get there. I mean, who even knows at this point? But the things you need to know about this Orioles team. Number 1, they are good. They are young. They are fearless. They are not scared of anybody at all. This is a young, fairly inexperienced team. I mean, the oldest everyday starter in their lineup is Adam Frazier at age 31. And, well, Aaron Hicks is also in there a couple times, every once in a while, at age 33. But for the most part, this is a team of young stars led by Adley Rutchman, their switch-hitting catcher, Gunnar Henderson, who is probably going to win Rookie of the Year as a shortstop/third baseman. He is just 22 years old. They have got, it's like Ryan Mountcastle, Jorge Mateo, Ramon Urias, Austin Hayes, Cedric Mullins, Anthony Santander, and Ryan O'Hearn. You might not know any of these names. That's fine. You're not alone. This is not a super well-known Baltimore Orioles lineup, but the thing that this lineup does well is one of the things that the Rangers lineup does well is that there are no easy outs in this lineup outside of occasionally Jorge Mateo. He's had one of the weirder seasons. He's been their shortstop. I don't know how much he's going to be starting at shortstop in the series. Gunnar Henderson has split time between shortstop and third base, but Mateo had like the best season of his entire life with over 1,000 OPS in April of this year, and then in May he had like a 300 or something OPS. And these teams haven't played since May, since Memorial Day. It's been a long time since these teams have faced off against each other. They are two completely different teams, but the thing that has been consistent about this Orioles team is that they just keep winning. They did not have a single bad month. You know how incredibly impressive that is to not have a single bad month? In the month of March, they went 1-0. In the month of April, 18-9. Month of May, 16-12. June, 13-11. July, 17-9. August, 18-9. September, 18-10. And well, they have not got a single win in October. They are 0-1 with 1 run scored in their season finale, which they had already clinched by, I don't know, 4 days ago. But it's been a little while since they've played some competitive baseball. They've had some time off to rest and reset their rotation for everybody to get as healthy as they can get. And they are sitting there at home, not having to travel, not having to do much of anything outside of kick their feet up and enjoy the bushels of their success, the bounties of what they sowed for winning 101 games this year. Now, you may think, well, this Orioles team, there's not a whole lot of stars in there. How did they win 101 games? Well, you look at their Pythagorean record, which is their expected win-loss record based on how many runs they gave up versus how many runs they scored. Their Pythagorean win and loss record is actually worse than the Rangers this year. Their expected wins-loss record is 94-68, whereas the Rangers is 96-66. Now, you may think, oh, that means the Rangers are clearly a better team. I don't necessarily think that. I think that it should scare Rangers fans of how much better the Orioles were than their Pythagorean record versus how much worse the Rangers were than theirs. That means that this Orioles team is suited to playoff baseball. They are very good at, staying close in games, having a very good, pretty darn deep bullpen. Now it's less deep with Felix Bautista's injury. He injured his UCL. It seems like he's going to have Tommy John surgery any day now. There is some thought that maybe he would come back, be on the postseason roster, because he is absolutely phenomenal. Best closer in the game, I think, by far. I don't think it's particularly close. Guinea Cano as the backup closer / setup man / now, default closer. He is a pretty darn good second choice, a 2.11 ERA in 72 games this year. I mean, it was, I think, about the All-Star break when I think he and Felix Bautista both had a sub-1 or at least sub-1.5 ERA, and both of those guys were incredibly nasty. Now it seems like it's more of a closer by committee. Talking with Connor Newcomb of Locked On Orioles, that's kind of the way that the Orioles have decided to go, but there's a lot of strength in this bullpen. Cianel Perez is a really nasty lefty. Denny Colombe is also a really nasty lefty. Jack Flaherty is probably going to be in the pen if he's on the postseason roster at all. And they have Shintaro Fujinami, courtesy of the A's, who is, well, I mean, Rangers fans have seen Shintaro Fujinami, and he is in the bullpen. He is not starting for this O's team, but their starting rotation was thought of as a big issue with this team. But for the most part, it's been really solid. There was a lot of talk at the deadline of, I don't know, the Orioles really need to go out and get somebody. They need to go get a proven starter. They maybe even need to get 2 starters, and they got Jack Flaherty. And Flaherty has just not been good for them. He has been moved to the bullpen. He has an ERA of 6.75 in 9 games. 7 of those are starts with the Orioles. Just did not get it done. And, has not worked out. But the rest of their young starters, you'll start with these. Like I said, Kyle Bradish is game 1. I mean, Grayson Rodriguez, the Rangers lit him up in the last time that they faced him and even sent him down to the minors after that. But in the second half, my goodness, Grayson Rodriguez, we saw the stuff. The stuff is incredibly impressive. We also saw the stuff in his major league debut where he went toe-to-toe with Jacob deGrom. Yeah, that's how long ago these teams first met in this season. And in the second half, he's got 13 starts under his belt, 76 and 2/3 innings, 73 strikeouts, a 2.58 ERA in that second half. G-Rod is looking like the prince that was promised for them in their starting staff to lead them and make everyone look so foolish for clowning them for not doing more at the trade deadline. Coming up, we're going to look at where the Rangers have the edge in this series and a little bit of maybe some extra positive news on some pitching help that the Rangers could get coming off the IL. But first, this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Ibotta. The weather is getting cooler, and that means it's time to stock your closet with all the winter clothes. With Ibotta, you can get cash back on winter coats, hats, gloves, scarves, and more for the entire family. Ibotta gives you cash back on hundreds of grocery items, from produce to personal care to pantry goods, so you can make sure that you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. Either link your loyalty account or upload your receipt after you shop, and you'll get your cash back. It is just that easy. The average Ibotta user earns over $100 per year. So that could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip. You could use the cash back to buy that flight you've been eyeing, or the game you've been dying to go to, that fancy dinner that you've been craving. You can earn cash back on hundreds of online brands and retailers when you start with Ibotta, including Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. Download the Ibotta app now. Use code MLB to start earning real cash back. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store, download the free Ibotta app, and use code MLB. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store, and use code MLB. Shout out to the Aviators for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. We'll be back on Sunday to recap the first couple games of this ALDS. The Rangers take on the Orioles in the ALDS. You can catch every pitch with the hometown broadcast on SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search Rangers. Unfortunately, I will be out of town this weekend, so I will be coming back on Sunday morning, going to the Texas A&M Alabama game with my older brother that we planned months ago, and I think we planned it right when the Rangers were in the middle of their skid, and I thought, nah, it's fine. That's the ALDS weekend. The Rangers will be either knocked out in the wild card round or miss out in the playoffs. Well, it was a stupid little me. Nope, they're going to be starting this ALDS on Saturday at noon Central Time, or maybe it'll end up being rain delayed. There's apparently some rainy weather in the forecast in Baltimore, so we'll see when that game actually starts and how good it looks. But the Rangers are looking good, riding in on their 2-game winning streak, beating down the 99-win Tampa Bay Rays, and not getting a whole lot of credit nationally for doing so. It's just a lot of, oh, well, the Rays, choked it away. Oh, the Rays actually were never that good. We didn't all watch the Rays start 13-0 and have incredibly dominant pitching, incredibly dominant lineup, and incredibly dominant bullpen. They suffered some injuries, a whole lot of injuries, and a whole lot of off-the-field drama as well, but the Rangers went into their house and beat them down. They were one of the best home teams in baseball, and the Orioles are a pretty darn good team as well. They beat the Rays out for the division. That's why the Rays are sitting at home and the Orioles are sitting here waiting for the Rangers. And the Rangers have a very deep, talented team, and this Orioles team is also really deep as well. I really, really like this Orioles team, and they're going to be good for a lot of years to come. And I think these two are going to be vying for best offense in baseball, like going back and forth year after year after year, because they are so incredibly talented. But right now, the Rangers have, I'd say, a decent chunk of an edge on most things. But before we get into where the Rangers have the edge positionally, Max Scherzer did throw a full intensity bullpen that he said was pain-free on Wednesday. We'll see how he recovers today, Thursday, to see how he feels, and that will kind of tell us more steps about what is next for him, like if he's going to throw another bullpen, if he's going to face live hitters, if he is ready to come off. But he was feeling great about it. He was feeling optimistic. Again, he's not going to put a timetable on it. I am still not counting on anything from Max Scherzer until at the very earliest the ALCS. But with John Gray, it's more of a question of do they want to throw him in a Game 5? Because that's the first day that he is available to come off the IL. I think he will be healthy by then, if he's not healthy already, after he went on the IL right before the end of the regular season, so he could not be available to potentially be a Game 3 starter in the Wildcard series. But the Rangers didn't need that, and it doesn't really matter anyway, because even if he was healthy, I don't know that he would necessarily earn a start in this one, because the Rangers are basically going to have I think he'd be a Game 4 starter, or take that over Martin Perez or Andrew Heaney, who Andrew Heaney did have the best start of his season against Baltimore, in Baltimore, actually. 7 shutout innings against them in that Saturday game where the Rangers took 2 out of 3 in Baltimore. A very fun series, one of my favorites of this year. But that is exciting news about Max Scherzer feeling good about himself, throwing a healthy bullpen. Doesn't really tell us all that much more, unfortunately, but just dreaming on the Rangers beating this Orioles team. And my goodness, they can do it, and they have a lot of momentum, and they have a lot of advantages on the field. But if they do that, they head into the ALCS against, hopefully, really hopefully, the Twins, or an all-Texas Lone Star Silver Boot ALCS matchup, and you get John Gray back, you get Max Scherzer back. Oh boy. The Rangers are going to be feeling really good about themselves if that happens to be the case. But let's look at these teams position by position. Where do the Rangers stack up, and where do they have the advantages? Now, a catcher. It is a close one, but with his struggles down the stretch, and I don't say this to demean Jonah Heim at all, but this is a win for the Orioles. Adley Rutchman has been fantastic all year round. 154 games for him. Absolutely incredible for a catcher playing 154 games. Now, I know that he didn't play all of them at catcher. He did a lot of DHing this year, but he is incredibly impressive. 46 games for him at DH, 110 at catcher. He is a switch hitter. He hits for power. He has incredible on-base skills, and I think that he is at this point, for the season as a whole, I think he gets the slight edge over Jonah Heim, even though Jonah Heim was the very deserving all-star starter this year. At first base, there's another advantage to the Orioles. Their starting everyday first baseman was Ryan Mountcastle. It's not a guy who you've heard of yet. A 779 OPS this year, 18 home runs, 21 doubles, and 470 plate appearances. Pretty good on base skills. Just a really solid overall season. A decent defensive first baseman as well. Sometimes there would be Ryan O'Hearn over there, who was a guy who played 112 games, had an OPS over 800, and just really solid play from him all year round. I think it's close, but I think with the way that Nathaniel Lowe has kind of slumped in the second half, I think I might give the edge to the Orioles. Now, you look at basically every other position player-wise, and I think the Rangers have a clear edge. Second base, Adam Frazier versus Marcus Semien. Yeah, it's absolutely no doubt. Even if it's Jordan Westburg there, still absolutely no doubt that it's Marcus Semien who is the best second baseman in all of baseball. So he has an edge there over everybody. Then at shortstop, it's either Jorge Mateo or it is Gunnar Henderson. Either way, it does not matter. They are not nearly as good as Corey freaking Seager. Third base. Now, this is where it gets close, but I still give the edge to our boy Josh Jung, the all-star starter, because I'm thinking that Gunnar Henderson's going to play more shortstop than third base. And if it's Colton Cowser, or not Colton Cowser, if it is Ramon Urias at third base for the Orioles, that's a pretty big, sizable edge for the Rangers. Left field, the Rangers have their little savior out there in Evan Carter. Absolutely amazing that Josh Jung said that, actually I've been referring to Evan Carter as the little savior of this team, because, I mean, why not? Absolutely incredible. I give him a left field edge over just about anybody, because, I mean, Evan Carter's been absolutely freaking sensational for this team. Playing way over his head, playing way better than he should be. But it's still, this is exactly what he's going to do. It doesn't make sense, but it also makes sense because it's him. And I don't want to say that to demean him by any means, but people who had no expectations for him are saying, "Oh, this is what this kid does." To the casual observer, they know who Evan Carter is. He announced himself very loudly on that stage of the wild card round, and I think he's going to continue that and keep making a name for himself in this ALDS. In center field, I think the edge goes to the Rangers. Yet again, it's Cedric Mullins versus Leody Taveras. Now, Cedric Mullins has had some really, really great seasons, and defensively, he is just as good as ever. A 2.8 WAR season this year. He had 19 stolen bases and 15 home runs, a 721 OPS, and on base of just 305, though. You would like to see him get on base at a little higher rate. He's had a couple of really great seasons, including an all-star year in 2021, where he had a 5.9 WAR season. Last year, he had a 3.8 WAR season, and it's just been a little bit of a down year for him. He missed quite a few games this year and has not been able to keep the on-base or the batting average or the slugging percentage nearly as high as they have been in years past. And Leody Taveras is red hot right now. We know what he does defensively, offensively. He is being an absolute menace on the base pass right now and making the most of his speed. I have loved what I've seen from him in right field. Now, this gets closer than most people think, because Anthony Santander is a very, very good right fielder that not a whole lot of people know much about. He had 41 doubles this season, 28 home runs, a 325 on base, and a 797 OPS. He is a very, very good hitter, one of the best in this very good Orioles lineup. But the Rangers have El Bombi. El Bombi is a guy who lives for the clutch. We got to see him hit his first MLB home run. He bat flipped the absolute crap out of it like a boss, like you knew he would. He is feeling it. He is feeling good. He was trash talking one of his best friends before the series, and he backed it up. He told Randy Rosarena, but while he was taking BP before the second game of that Wildcard series, hey, this is going to be the last time you take BP this season because we are sending you home today. And you know what? They freaking did it. What a boss. What a baller. Absolutely love it. And at DH, now this is where Ryan O'Hearn played most of his games. He was the guy who I said with a 480 slugging percentage and a 801 OPS, 14 bombs for him this year, 22 doubles in 112 games. He is a very good hitter, but he is not as good as Mitch Garver. I'm really hoping that it's Mitch Garver DHing most of these games for the Texas Rangers and not Robbie Grossman. Don't have to rehash all of that nonsense, but yeah. And starting pitching, I think I give the slight edge to the Rangers because the top two are so incredibly dominant that it makes a big, big difference. Now, Kyle Bradish is a really good starter, and him going up against Dane Dunning is going to be a tough matchup for Dunning. But if Dane Dunning can keep this team in it, he has pitched what I think like a couple outs in the COVID playoffs. This will be his playoff debut. It'll be a huge, huge game because if the Rangers can take game one, they might just sweep this thing. Because if you have Jordan Montgomery going in game 2 and Nate Eovaldi going in game 3 as you come home, if the Rangers come home up 2-0 with Nate Eovaldi on the hill in game 3, that feels like as close to a very, very good chance of a sweep. And Dane Dunning has come up huge for this team all year in big spots, and I love what he has done. But I think I give the slight edge to the Rangers starting pitchers. John Means has been very, very good. Like I said, Grayson Rodriguez has been good. Kyle Bradish has been like one of the better starters in the American League that just does not get the recognition. He doesn't walk anybody, doesn't allow a lot of hard contact. He gets a lot of ground balls. Doesn't strike a whole lot of guys out. But that's the thing, this staff, the not walking guys, that's, I think, going to be very, very advantageous for this Orioles staff of not walking guys because that's what the Rangers can do, and they might just get in the heads of this staff that doesn't normally walk people. We're going to talk about why that might happen and a little bit more. But first, this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Snap into the action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there is no better time to get in on the action. The app is easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. You can bet on this ALDS. I'm sure they've got the Rangers World Series winning odds are a little bit better than they were before the wild card round. If you want to go place your money on that or check out some NFL bets, go visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Like I said, I'll be back on Monday. Shout out to the Everydayers. I'll be back on Sunday to recap the first couple games of this ALDS where the Rangers take on the Orioles. And you can catch every pitch with the hometown broadcast on SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search Rangers. Now, the Rangers, like I said, have the edge in a lot of different places. The last position group, I'd say that the bullpen. That's a real toss-up as to who has the better bullpen. Now, it is clear that the Orioles have a slightly better bullpen. Now, we did see some great bullpen outings from the Rangers in this series against the Rays. We've seen some improvements from some key bullpen pieces against the Rays. Jose Leclerc looks much, much better. He looks like the Jose Leclerc of old, back to his old self. We have seen a good performance from Josh Boers. We saw a good inning from Aroldis Chapman, and we didn't see much else of this bullpen because it was just a 2-game set, and the Raiders had their 2 best starting pitchers go very deep into the game, so they didn't have to expose their big weakness. But, I mean, the depth of this Orioles bullpen is incredible, honestly, even with Felix Bautista gone, which is a massive, massive blow. He's a huge reason why they won so many games. I mean, he pitched in 56 games, had 33 saves, 61 innings, 110 strikeouts, and an ERA just 2 ticks below 1.5. Like, just absolutely bonkers how good this guy was, how locked down it was that if the Orioles were winning with a 1-run lead in the 8th inning, then here you go, Yenny Cano in the 8th inning. Here you go, Felix Bautista in the 9th inning. Bing, bang, boom. A near certainty that they would win. But the Rangers team has some edges in their bullpen. They have some guys who are peaking right now. In terms of defense, I think the Rangers have a slight edge there. Manager, I think the Rangers have an edge there. Bruce Bochy, again, the confidence he instills in this team is tremendous. That they instill in themselves is absolutely tremendous. And in terms of momentum, the Rangers obviously have a lot of momentum coming off of those 2 beatdowns of the Rays in Tampa Bay. And they come in with a couple of days rest, just enough to get themselves right and get ready for this very good Orioles team. And in terms of experience, I mean, the Rangers, everybody in their starting lineup has postseason experience. If they didn't before, they do now. Maybe it's just 2 games, but they've at least seen what the deal is there. And the Rangers had a lot of playoff experience on their roster before those 2 games as well. But this Orioles team, like I said, they are very young and they are scrappy and they are darn good. They are not just a fun, cute, pesky little team. They are darn good and they deserve to be here. They deserve to have that bye in the first round. But there's not a lot of guys on this team that have playoff experience. There's Adam Frazier, 5 games of experience. James McCann, 3 games of experience, the backup catcher. Kyle Gibson has 3 games of playoff experience and only 3 1/3 innings pitched in the playoffs. I don't believe any of those were starts. And Jack Flaherty does have 4 games under his belt, but that was back when he was with the St. Louis Cardinals, back when the St. Louis Cardinals were actually good at winning baseball games, and he was good at pitching. Neither of those things are true at this point, but I think it could also work in the Orioles' favor. It might not, but it could, of them having no experience. They don't know any better than to just win. They are young, they are full of optimism and hope, and they have just beat teams down they just do not lose a lot of games. They had not been swept all year, and I think that streak of not getting swept in a series goes back a ways. And would it be kind of funny or poetic or just nice for the Rangers and our own rooting interest if the first time that the Orioles get swept in like a 1.5-year stretch is in the postseason? That would be a bummer. This team is still going to be back, and I think this is going to be the first of probably many Rangers-Orioles playoff series. This is the first actual series that these 2 teams have played. They did play a wildcard game in 2012. It was the bane of my existence where Yu Darvish was pulled too early and the Rangers lost the division on the last day. We don't have to get into that one. We all know how that one went down. And if you don't, there is a website called google.com where you can go find out. But this is going to be a very fun and good matchup. I went back and listened to a crossover I did with Connor Newcomb of Locked On Orioles back when these 2 teams faced off in May, and listening to that episode of where these teams were at that point, how much they have changed, it kind of just reinforced it to me. I mean, if you want to think about how different these teams were, is we talked about who on the other team would we steal for our own team, and Connor Newcomb said Cole Reagans was a guy who he wanted to steal and put in the Orioles pitching development and see how much they could get out of him. Well, doesn't he look smart for saying that now? Doesn't he look real smart for saying that now? I would like for the Rangers to have held on to him. But alas, it worked out the way it worked out. The Rangers kind of limped into the playoffs and then hit the ground running with those first 2 wins. They are on a roll. They are on a winning streak. And this is an incredibly streaky team. And so why not push that winning streak to 3 games? Why not push it to 4 games the next day? Why not push it to 5 games and start the playoffs by sweeping the first 2 rounds? I think that's entirely possible. I don't know if it's necessarily likely because this game 1 is going to be huge, and I think this is going to determine a lot of the series. I think if the Rangers win game 1 of this series, then I think I give them like a 70-75% chance of winning it all. Because if you can beat their best starter with maybe the 3rd best starter that you're going to throw in this series, that is huge. That is huge for the Rangers. Their lineup is feeling incredibly confident right now. Their biggest flaw at the deadline, and this could be a a storyline that people are going to be pointing to. I mean, the Rangers' biggest flaw was obviously the bullpen, and at the deadline, they made some acquisitions. They shored up their holes where the Orioles really didn't. The only trade that they made was for Jack Flaherty, the Orioles, that is. And the Rangers, they traded for Adolis Chapman like a month before the deadline. They traded for Max Scherzer. They traded for Jordan Montgomery. They traded for Chris Stratton. They went as all in as you can without really mortgaging that much of the future. That Jordan Montgomery trade might hurt down the line, seeing what those two prospects they gave up there will do. But Jordan Montgomery has been so unbelievably incredible that it does not freaking matter. I don't care if both of them turn into all-stars. Jordan Montgomery has been your ace down a playoff stretch and pitched you 7 shutout innings of the first game of a very difficult playoff series, and you got a sweep out of that, and he's probably got at least one more playoff start in him, hopefully many more. He can start another game 1 of a series. Hopefully that's the ALCS, and he can absolutely dominate. We'll see. But this is a matchup of 2 incredibly talented teams. I think the Rangers did a much better job of addressing their results, and it just kind of comes down to, in my opinion, this is going to come down a lot to whether the inexperience plays or doesn't for these Orioles guys. They are young. They don't know any better than to just win, but they also don't really know what they're in for at this point. They have not been there, done that, which at least it's at their home stadium, so they know what that's like and what playing in that atmosphere is like. But they're going to be fired up and ready to go. This is a juggernaut of a team. You don't win 100. You don't luck your way in to 101 wins in an incredibly tough division that had 3 teams in the playoffs. Their division had 3 teams in the playoffs and 4 teams with a winning record, and the last place team was the Red Sox, and they had, I believe, 78 wins. They were no pushovers. And this team won 101 games. They are incredibly talented. They are not just cute little young guys. They are a juggernaut of a team. Now, this Rangers franchise is incredible. This Rangers team, I don't want to talk about the whole franchise as a whole, but this year's team is an incredibly talented team. This is a heavyweight prize fight. This should be an ALCS matchup. I'm so annoyed that it isn't. It could have been if the Rangers took care of business and won the AL West, but I digress. They didn't. They're here now, and this is the matchup they've got. But hey, to be the champs, you got to beat the champs or just literally everybody. So why not? They're going to have to face them eventually. Why not in a best 3 out of 5 series? It's going to be a lot of fun. I am so incredibly looking forward to it. Winning a playoff series, 1 is not enough, but hey, every time the Rangers have beaten the Rays in the first round of the playoffs, they have gone on to the World Series. So why not make that 2 for 2 into a 3 for 3 and kick it off with a great matchup against a very talented, very fun Baltimore Orioles team. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank you all so much for listening and subscribing, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy playoff Texas Rangers baseball.